All right. Got my NFL Combine shirt on. Draft is tomorrow. I am so pumped. This is some of the most research I've done for an episode. I mean, granted, I'm doing research all year long. I'm a huge fantasy fan, and football fan in general. So I know all about the offensive products. But I did a little deeper dive, started looking at some offensive lineman wingspan, started looking at some interior defensive linemen. We all knew about Joey Porter Jr., Christian Gonzalez, and Devin Witherspoon, some of the top flight DBs. But I did a little deeper dive in some of the other guys. Emmanuel Forbes, is he too skinny? Ended up finding a fun fact that he has the same wingspan as Peter Skoronsky, who Daniel Jeremiah, who's my favorite analyst, has him as the 8th best overall player. So if Peter Skoronsky at OT, where arm length is everything, is the 8th best player, then I think Devin Witherspoon is probably, or not Devin Witherspoon, Emmanuel Forbes with that wingspan is probably going to make up for his 166 pounds. I know that's pretty slender at 6'1", but Deshaun Jackson was 160 pounds and he burned people. I'm actually slimmed down to 160 pounds at 6'3", and I've got some bulk on me. So it's like 6'1", 166. I'll bet the dude is not as slight as you think. And speaking of arm length, one of my favorites, I forgot to get the exact stats, but Joey Porter Jr.'s wingspan is absurd. It is 34 inches. That is the average of an NFL left tackle. So I know people said Christian Gonzalez was the number one prospect going into the process, and then they said Spoon took him over because he was just locked down. The stats on him are just absurd. He's a great tackler. There's gifts of his tackles, and he allowed like the least yards per attempt of any corner in a Big Five school. But I am big on metrics, makeup, and where you came from. There's a lot of professional athletes whose parents are professional athletes, even if they weren't good. Patrick Mahomes' dad wasn't a great baseball player, but he grew up in that environment, so he's not scared of the big stage. Same as Steph Curry. His dad wasn't good, but he grew up in that, and now he's a baller. Seth Curry's one of the least athletic NBA players out there, but he's got the juice. And so Joey Porter Jr., his dad is an absolute savage. Steel City would love to have a hard worker like that. I would love for my Giants to get him. So of the three, I would want Joey Porter Jr. absolutely the most. And I love seeing people having Christian Gonzalez. And I'm like shot after all the research I just did and Spoon over Joey Porter Jr. So let's get into it. Panthers traded up from 9-1. They know who they're getting. They haven't told us. So actually what I'm doing for this draft is I'm going with what consensus mock draft. So it's from mockdraftcentral.com. It takes like what all the different people do. So people have some out there takes. People like to impress, like Daniel Jeremiah in his last one said, Zay Flowers is going 11. As much as we all like Zay Flowers, he's probably not going 11, but he's just going out there to whim. Maybe it'll happen. He's basically saying, I really like this talent. You don't really, because once a couple of draft trades happen, the whole draft order is messed up and you can't, it's just like the March Madness bracket. You can't get it all right. But if you do the consensus, that kind of says what most people think is going to happen. So it also shows the percentages, which is cool. So 93% of drafts have Bryce Young going first, and Bryce Young is going first. We can all move on from that. That's what's happening. So the next pick, it already gets fun. Only 29% say CJ Stroud is going second overall. And CJ Stroud may go second overall, but I don't think he's going second overall to the Texans. So they have Davis Mills, who's competent. And there's actually 5 quarterbacks projected to go in the first round. Everyone knows about Levis and A-Rich, the combine master, but people actually forgot that Hendon Hooker had like the number 1 yards per attempt, is a great dual threat. The offense he ran at Tennessee had the number 1 efficiency. It's not a super pro-ready offense, but he's got all the tools of NFL quarterback, 6'3", 220, and he tore his ACL. So if he hadn't torn his ACL, he'd be going a lot higher. So now I'm starting to see people thinking the Texans might get him at 12, get best available at 2, or if I were them, trade down. So in this mock, what I have them doing is trading down from 2. I don't know exactly what they're doing. I know you're supposed to say, but I'm basically more about the prospects to the team. So I'm saying maybe they trade from 2 to 4 and the Colts move up and get Stroud. So then let's just say that happens. Then the Texans would get their guy Tyree Wilson. Even if Will Anderson is available, Will Anderson's more of a 3-4 because he's 6'4", 240. He's actually 6'3.5". Tyree at 6'7" or 6'6", 270 is a typical 4-3 end. That's what Lovey wants. And then they can tank this year with Davis Mills, sit Herndon, and then get Marvin Harrison Jr. next year. So that's forward thinking. So then you've got Herndon, Marvin Harrison Jr. ripping it up for years to come. So Texans are going to trade down somewhere from 2, most likely. Cardinals also want to trade down from 3. The consensus here is Will Anderson, which would be a terrific pick. Him and Isaiah Simmons would absolutely rip it up. Long, rangy linebackers. Consensus also is that they want out and are now thinking about getting Paris Johnson to help protect Kyler Murray. Let's talk about wingspan. Dude has a 36 and an 1/8 inch wingspan. That's ridiculous. Some people have said he's like dancing bear, like Orlando Pace, not super fast, but just nimble, moves well, sticks his arm out. You're not going to get past me. So Paris Johnson will be a solid pick. Will Anderson will be a solid pick. I also think they're probably going to trade down maybe to like 3 or like with 5 with the Seahawks. The Seahawks could be getting a quarterback, so maybe they swap from 3 to 5. But I'm just going to stay for the sake of ease that they stick and get Will Anderson. And then for the Colts, I think they say they like all 4 quarterbacks. They are sick of the quarterback carousel, having Matt Ryan, Phillip Rivers, Andrew Luck retiring, Carson Wentz. Like they're ready for their QB. So they say they're okay with Anthony Richardson, but he might not be ready this year. So I don't think they really want Richardson and Levis. I think they want Stroud, or if I'm them, I'm getting Lamar Jackson. Lamar has shown he can kill it when he's got receivers he can throw the ball deep to. So the receivers go deep, which opens up the running game. They have Jonathan freaking Taylor. They have Jelani Woods, a big bruising tight end who can block for him. Lamar is not the most accurate, but he can put the ball near you. So he's not the most accurate. You've got 6'4" Michael Pittman, who's a nice security blanket. 6'3" Alec Pierce, who just runs down the field, jumps up and mosses people. Literally his plays of catching the ball from Ritter are all the same plays. Just go deep, catch ball. So he'd be great for Lamar as a decoy. And then if you guard the run and guard Pittman too much, he's going to bomb you to Pierce. So I think Lamar to the Colts would be terrific. And then if the Ravens get this pick, then the Ravens would take Stroud at 4. So I think Stroud is going to go 2nd, 3rd, or 4th overall. So he'll be gone. So essentially, like the Texans are going to end up with Tyree, Cardinals most likely with Will Anderson, and then the Colts with a QB, whether it be Stroud or the Ravens get Stroud, and then the Lamar goes to Colts. And if the Ravens get Stroud, then that's really exciting for Odell because he's going to be more of a pass-happy offense. So then it didn't really make sense to get Odell, who's not going to want to be a run blocker in that Ravens offense. So that Odell signing, some people said, oh, it's because they want Lamar like to be happy, but it's not really a great pairing with Lamar. So I kind of think Odell foreshadows actually the exit of Lamar and then would make a rookie quarterback super happy. So moving on, Seattle. Jalen Carter, they say there's 3 like top 3 talents. It's Will Anderson, Jalen Carter, and Bijan Robinson. Unfortunately, Bijan's a running back, Jalen Carter's an interior lineman, and Will Anderson's a linebacker. So no one really cares about them, but they're the 3 best players in the draft, most people say. Some people say Bryce. I think it's those 3. Consensus actually has Jalen going to the Seahawks, but Todd McShay has actually said they are out on him. So if that's the case, I think they should get Anthony Richardson. Their defense is pretty bad, but they have a 2nd first-round pick, so they can take a risk. They have Geno. Geno's a smart dude. He was a top pick, like I think first pick in the 2nd round. Was talked about going 1st overall, and then it didn't work out for Geno. He had a rough career, and then ends up being an absolute stud last year. Went 39th overall. An absolute stud last year. So he'd be a great guy to learn from. So I think Anthony Richardson would be a great pick for the Seahawks. And then Tariq Woolen, DK Metcalf, and Anthony Richardson, they just be tearing up the combine over there. So that's really fun. Moving on, the Lions. The consensus is Devin Witherspoon. At first, I thought that was dumb, and they would get Tyree over him. But you know what? I thought about it more. And as important as edge is, they have Aiden Hutchinson. So they have their number 1. They just need a competent guy on the other side. The Jeff Okudah thing didn't work out. They traded him for a late-round pick. They need that number 1 corner. If they think Spoon's number 1, take Spoon number 1. Also, he's a hard hitter, hard worker. Dan Campbell's going to love him. So let's put it on the board. Devin Witherspoon, number 1. Raiders, consensus is Christian Gonzalez. They have a horrible D for years. It would be super smart for them to do that. The Raiders don't do smart things. They're going to take a quarterback most likely. I know they've got Jimmy G, but he's injured. He's not super young. And Levis and Anthony Richardson, if Richardson is available, are both more projects who need time. I love me a dual threat quarterback. A-Rich is one of the most exciting since my guys Cam Newton and Terrell Pryor. I was one of the biggest Terrell Pryor fans ever. I remember being so excited to watch Auburn versus Ohio State. I actually came away more impressed with Terrell Pryor. Always have been, to this day, still think he got dogged by the Raiders and has a 1,000-yard season for the Browns. Whatever, rant over. I was super excited to watch Will Levis and Anthony Richardson showdown, and they were both awful. I did see the Josh Allen traits. I did see the combine traits, Anthony Richardson, but they both did not look pro-ready, and they were playing against college defenses. So the Raiders getting Levis would make sense. He could sit and learn from a smart QB who learned from Belichick in New England. He also learned from Kyle Shanahan in SF. He's got to be one of the best QB minds out there. He's not super gifted, but he wins when he plays. So if he gets hurt, they have Levis. If not, he learns from him. He practices with Devontae Adams, and then that keeps Devontae Adams happy because he's probably not that happy about Jimmy G, let's be honest. So he came to Oakland to play with his gunslinging college teammate Carr, and then they get rid of Carr. So you got to keep your stars happy. I don't think Christian Gonzalez is going to do that for them. I don't think the fans are going to love that. So I think a QB would be fun here. And it's not all about having fun, it's about winning, but the Raiders aren't going to win. So I always say, if you're not going to win, make some money and make your fans happy. QBs, playmakers, make your fans happy. Bijan will be a fun pick for them too. Consensus, moving on. Falcons consensus actually is Bijan Robinson. I think that is horrible. I think that is so dumb. They were running the ball with Tyler Algier and Cordell Patterson last year. They clearly, their line is solid enough to make do with that. So they actually traded a 7th round pick for, I'm blanking on his name, the tight end from the Titans. When then he went to the Patriots. Come on, Graham, you can do this. You can't do this. Falcons' new tight end, Jonnu Smith. So people are like, why would they get Jonnu Smith if they have Kyle Pitts? So then if you get Jonnu Smith on first down to play tight end, you put Kyle Pitts as a receiver. He goes from an average blocking tight end to one of the best blocking tight ends in the league, or receivers in the league. Same thing with the Giants and Waller. If you double down and get another tight end, then you can push Waller or Pitts out to receiver. So then Pitts and Drake London are these now mammoth receivers, which helps your run game. So I don't think they need Bijan. Their defense is awful. Since no one's taken Jalen Carter, they should do it. If they don't take Jalen Carter, the Bears just won their trade from trading from 1.1 even more, because a lot of people pre-draft, like I look at the mock drafts like all the way. Like I'm going to look at 2024 mock drafts like in 2 days. So Jalen Carter was going 1.1. Will Anderson and Jalen Carter were going 1.1 the entire time until the draft happens and everyone gets QB craze. So clearly, in my eyes, Jalen Carter and Will Anderson are the 2 top prospects based on position, because Bijan is a running back. So Jalen Carter to the Falcons makes sense. It would be a run to the podium pick for the Bears. Will also Paris Johnson is going to be that as well. 36 and an eighth arms. They need to protect Fields. There you go. Fields was pressured more than most quarterbacks last year. If you look at a lot of his highlights, he's running for his life. Poor guy. He can do it. He's got a 4.40, but he shouldn't have to. So book Paris, easy pick. Eagles, I did a blog post about this. I am so mad they have the 10th pick. I would rather they have won the Super Bowl than have the 10th pick. 5 years from now, you're not going to know who won the Super Bowl last year. All right, off top, I don't know who won the Super Bowl 5 years ago. Was it the Rams? Was it the Patriots? No idea. No one's going to remember that the Chiefs beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl. Well, unfortunately, the Eagles have the 10th pick. The consensus is Nolan Smith. That would be terrifying to pair with Hassan Reddick, who's a terrifyingly fast edge rusher. They did lose their nose tackle. I know they have Jordan Davis, but Jordan Davis can't play every snap, and they like to rotate people. So Jalen Carter would have been a huge find for them here. Nolan Smith is a little bit more talent and production. I know they're in a luxury position where they can make that kind of go for the reach for talent, but also Christian Gonzalez is an elite talent. So if he's there, I think they get Christian Gonzalez. If they don't get Christian Gonzalez, I think they should get a tackle like Peter Skoronski. Their offensive line is very injury prone. Jordan Mailata, 6'8", 360. He may not have had injuries, but he's 6'8", 360. He could go down at any moment. Landon Dickerson is 6'6", 320 and has had multiple knee surgeries. Jason Kelsey is like 45 years old. If he goes down, then Landon Dickerson has actually played all 5 positions on the line, which is terrifying. I wanted the Giants to get him from Alabama. So he could slide into center, which means they need a guard. So Skoronski, with his short 32-inch quarter arms, could be the backup at all 5 positions, or a starting right guard to replace Seumalo. So I think Skoronski would be a really good pick for them. Daniel Jeremiah has him as his 8th best player, but I do think they're going to get Christian Gonzalez. Speaking of Skoronski, I've said enough about him. He is the consensus for the next team, the Titans, and I think they're going to pull the trigger and take Skoronski. His comp is Zach Martin. Skoronski is 6'4", 313. Zach Martin is 6'4", 310. Martin's wingspan is a little bit longer, 32 7/8 as opposed to 32 1/4. But I think it's just pennies at this point. They're both kind of short arms. Martin was a tackle in college at Notre Dame, moved into guard. He's been an All-Pro for 10 years. I'm a Giants fan. I hate when we play against him. So Dexter Lawrence absolutely destroys everyone, does not destroy the Cowboys. So Skoronski would be a great pick for the Titans. Shout out to my guy, Colby Long. I know that's not the sexy pick he wants. There were some mock drafts I saw that had them moving up for Lamar. I think it'd be really fun for them. Their franchise needs a lot of work. They're in a weaker division. I think making a move for Lamar or one of the rookie quarterbacks would be really smart. Anthony Richardson would be a perfect fit for them since they have Tannehill, so he could sit for a year behind him. So if I'm them, I'm making the move. I'm either trading up or down. I don't think 11 is a good place to get a guard. And I'm not sure Skoronski could be a tackle. People really like Skoronski. I think it's a solid pick. But again, if I'm here at 11, I'm moving up or down. Moving on, Texans at 12. Consensus is JSN. That would be freaking awesome. I was really hoping they'd get Stroud at 2 and JSN at 12, but it doesn't seem as much like they're going to do that. Lovie Smith's trying to shake things up. Reuniting the college teammates would be freaking awesome. But Hendon Hooker has really been rising up the boards. And, as I said, they could tank, they could draft him and then sit him, play Davis Mills, tank, and then get Marvin Harrison Jr. So I do think Hooker is the pick they're going to make at 12. Also, you'd think they could trade down because if he's a hurt quarterback, but the Packers are at 13 and they have a bunch of picks, which means the Packers are also a team that could trade up. If they don't believe in Jordan Love, they could trade up as well because they got the extra picks from the Rodgers trade. But I do think the Packers aren't a team that typically likes to do that. They like to build deeper through the draft, not as much through the free agency. They're not much of a star-studded team. So assuming the Packers don't trade up, assuming the Texans go steal Hooker from them, then I think the Packers are going to help out their guy, Jordan Love. A lot of people would say get a receiver here. The consensus is Dalton Kincaid, get that receiving tight end for Jordan Love. But I think they have really good receivers. I'm a huge Christian Watson fan. I actually took him over Chris Olave in my Dynasty League. So I think he's a solid player. Romeo Dubes was functioning really well for a while there. They're pretty solid. So I think you don't really need to upgrade. Christian Watson was burning people at a certain point last year. I think Michael Mayer is the pick. Notre Dame is tight end U. They like to run the ball. It's a hard-nosed city, so he can help you with the run. He's the only tight end in college the last 2 years with 800 yards each year. So it is impressive that Kincaid is the only tight end in the last 20 years with 8 touchdowns in 4 years, all 4 years. But Mayer has been the number 1 tight end for a while. So it is fun, the late risers, but also be wary of the late risers. There's a reason that Jalen Carter and Will Anderson were seen as 1-2 for a long time. So I say Mayer at 13. Patriots consensus is Broderick Jones. Great tackle, really like him, former basketball player, really athletic, moves well. They should trade up for a QB. Their offense was anemic. If Hooker's available, they should take him. They need to do something fun, but they're going to get one of the steals of the draft of Jackson Smith and Jabba if he falls to them. This dude, a lot of things people are saying he had the best shuttle and 3-cone of all receivers. He had the best shuttle and 3-cone of all players in the draft. Both of them were 0.1 seconds faster than everyone. And when you're talking about 4 seconds, 0.1 is a lot. He had one of the best. They're both actually one of the best of all time. The JSN moves super well. Some people are saying he's more of a slot receiver, but he is 6'1", 180, so he's decent sized. Honestly, to me, my comp for him is a souped up Juju Smith-Schuster. like could be in the slot, could be outside, a little better in the slot. So to me, that pairing is not super sexy. But if you have two like elite slot receivers who can both play outside, you don't have a corner for both those guys. So, and those are actually the kind of guys Mac Jones is going to like. He's not going to want the Quentin Johnson going deep down the field. He's going to want the elite route runner. So Mac Jones would be carving it up with Ramondre running hard, decent O-line, and two really good route runners in the slot. So JSN will be an epic pick for them. The Jets are now picking at 15 after the Aaron Rodgers trade instead of 13. Consensus is Darnell Wright. Aaron Rodgers hates rookies making rookie mistakes. He didn't pass to Christian Watson for the first few games after he was like, he actually went one of his first plays of the year. He shook the cornerback, broke wide open free for a touchdown. Rodgers threw it right there, went right through his arms. He like ghosted him for 3 days, 3 games. So I do not think Aaron Rodgers would like Darnell Wright, 6'5", 333 pound, more of a mauler tackle. And that's not what Aaron Rodgers is going to want. Aaron Rodgers is going to want a tackle to protect him. So that would be Broderick Jones, the more nimble, athletic basketball player type. They're ranked very similarly in mock drafts, according to my guy Daniel Jeremiah as well. So I think Rodgers is going to have some say here. That's why he wanted to go there. He's going to be protected. So I think Broderick Jones is the pick. Commanders, 16. The consensus is my guy Joey Porter Jr. They could use an upgraded corner. Kendall Fuller's good, but a little older. They have Benjamin St. Juste, who's a 6'3" corner, a Madden wet dream. Also Cam Dantzler, former first or second round pick for the Vikings, is now a 6'2" reclamation project for them. So they have 3 solid enough corners, but could really use that stellar number 1 guy. So of course, JPJ or Deonte Banks would be an amazing selection. But their team has been boring for years. So it looks like it was really tough doing the consensus and the like consensus pick and who I would pick, and I just realized I forgot about a player, so I had to go down and change my draft in the middle of the draft. So they're boring. They're boring. No one likes them. No one cares. Washington's not a sports town. Get Bijan. As I say, sometimes you got to do something to make your team better. They're not getting a quarterback. If I'm them, I'm trading up and getting a quarterback. They have a really good defense. People hate on Chase Young, but that dude's an absolute nightmare. I still do not forgive Daniel Jones for destroying the Commanders in week 16 of the year before the Chase Young draft. We were supposed to have the second pick, but he had the best game of his life. He was trash at that moment. All of a sudden blew up, destroyed the Redskins. We went from 2 to 4, got Andrew Thomas. Giants Twitter was like, oh, we won the trade. We did not win the trade. The Entertainah, I'm talking to you. We did not win that trade. It's looking good for us now, but it's not set in stone. Chase Young was set 1-1 for the longest time. And then at the end of the season, Burrow went ham, and then he overtook and became the first overall pick because, again, quarterbacks always do that. But Chase Young is a generational talent compared to my guy, Julius Peppers, who is an absolute stud on the hardwood, one of the best two-way athletes of all time. If anyone's compared to Julius Peppers, I want that guy on my team. I still want Chase Young on my team. I don't care he's a Redskin commander. I want Chase Young. I don't care that Zeke was a Cowboy. If he's mad at the Cowboys, you can come over and play for the Giants. But again, the Commanders have been boring for years. If you don't get a quarterback, get someone to help the quarterback. They already have Jahan Dotson, Terry McLaurin, Reclamation Project, Curtis Samuel, Antonio Gibson, Bijan Robinson. I get that. I get they have those dudes, but Bijan really puts them over the top. They could then trade one of the other guys. Antonio Gibson also has former work as a receiver. So if they don't want to pay Jahan Dotson, which they're probably not going to be able to anyways, they could give AG a really cheap contract because he's paid as a running back, move him to receiver, and then have Terry McLaurin, C-Sam and Antonio Gibson, who can both do running back type things, a really electric offense. Bijan, they can move all the pieces around and be super fun. Please don't listen to me. Don't do this, Redskins, Commanders. Steelers, I may have moved the draft around a little bit for this to happen. JPG was supposed to go 16. Conversation over. 17, back to Steel City, back to Blair's dad played. They need a corner. Consensus is Deonte Banks. I'm swapping it, putting instead of JPJ 16, putting them 17 to the Steelers, and instead of consensus Deonte 17 to the Steelers, very next pick to the Lions. And this is the guy I forgot, Kalijah Cansey, and his 4'6", 40 at 280 pounds is terrifying. Reminds me of Aaron Donald. I don't know how I forgot about him. A lot of people are saying he's a good pick and play for the Giants at 25. I literally have it written here. I just didn't have him selected later. So he's the consensus, but they should get Deonte. They need a corner. They already have Aiden down the middle. They've got the Hard Knocks guy, Mario Rodriguez, who flipped Jason Kelsey in the middle. I really like having someone at all three levels. You want to have a great guy in the trenches, a great linebacker, and a great DB. So get him that great DB, get him Deonte Banks, put in the books. Also, right one. So there's the four corners. There's Christian, there's Spoon, JPJ, and Deonte. The second the third one is taken, the Giants should trade up and get that fourth corner. It's much harder to find a corner, an elite corner in the second or third round than it is a receiver. The Giants could have had George frickin' Pickens when they got Wandale last year. So we wouldn't need a receiver if we'd gotten Pickens over Wandale. So again, I think we could trade. We have a bunch of extra picks. We could trade up from mid-second to like up a little higher and get a receiver there. There's plenty of guys. There's Jalen Hyatt. There's Marvin Mims. There's Josh Downs. There are people to be had that could make our offense more exciting. We could also go all out and trade up for 2 first-round picks. But I would say at 18, Giants trade up with the Lions and get Deonte Banks. But if not, Lions are getting Deonte Banks. 19, Buccaneers, complete team, great offensive line. When everyone's healthy, I know they were awful last year, couldn't run the ball, so offensive line is in play here. They said consensus pick Anton Harrison. That's actually the first time they really didn't do a consensus top player. Daniel Jeremiah has him ranked as a 57th ranked prospect. Again, I think they have their stud and Tristan Wirfs. I don't think you need a top blue chip. I think you can get a second or third round tackle. What they have greatly needed is once Gronk was out, you saw they didn't have a tight end. So Dalton Kincaid makes that offense electric. If Mike Evans is hurt, if Chris Godwin's hurt, then you've got Dalton Kincaid. So put it in the books. Dalton Kincaid also, as a tight end, is going to help the blocking. So I think that'd be a great pick for them. Seattle Seahawks, consensus is Myles Murphy. Pete Carroll would run to the podium the way I've done the mock draft because Nolan Smith didn't have as much production. I know it didn't matter so much last year with Trayvon Walker going 1.1 overall, but that's because he had coverage skills. There are people saying Nolan Smith can, but he's more of a pass rusher. So he is perfect in the Pete Carroll mold of the Leo backer position, in the mold of Cliff Averill and Bruce Irvin, who just shoot out of cannons. So Pete Carroll would sprint to the podium for Nolan Smith. And shout out to Redwood High School. I know there are Tamalpais, my high school's rival, and I hate everything about them, but I love that Pete Carroll went there. He's the oldest coach in NFL history, and he looks like the youngest coach out there. So love Pete Carroll. As when I went to school in the Northwest, I always hated on the Seahawks because the Seahawks fans are obnoxious. When I'm down here in the Bay Area, I hate on the Niners because Niners fans are obnoxious, but I have love for both. And you guys just didn't really realize in the P. Willie Golden Age and the Legion of Boom, you guys both said the other team sucked. Both teams were really freaking good, and I have a lot of love for both those teams and coaches. I loved Harbaugh, loved Shanahan, both really fun organizations, like a lot. It's really fun, actually, what's going on with Trey Lance and Purdy. Well, Trey Lance, I've seen some Trey Lance, a first, and Ayuk for Lamar options. That's really fun. I don't think the Niners have the money for Lamar, so I think it makes sense if you're going to do that to trade up for a rookie quarterback. But I think actually Purdy and Lance make sense. They both have a little bit of injury history. One of them will be healthy, rock the healthy one. And then they also have Sam Darnold, who, by the way, is younger than Lamar Jackson. That is one of my favorite stats. People are like, Sam's a bust. No, he's still super young. So the Chargers are up at 21. Consensus is Jordan Addison. Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are always hurt. They're both bigger dudes at 6'2 and 6'4, 6'5-ish for Mike Williams. So I don't think they should get Jordan Addison. If one of their big boys goes down, quite possibly Mike, he's got back issues a lot. As a taller dude, I know back stuff is a thing as well. I think they should get Quentin Johnson. He's a swaggy dude. Swag doesn't matter that much at a lot of positions. Quarterback, you want to be brainsy. Offensive line, you want to be smart. D end, you want to be high motor and tough. Receiver, you got to be freaking swaggy. Receiver and corner, the ball's thrown up in the air. You like, no, my ball, my paycheck. I'm the famous one. Give me the freaking ball. It's a 6'4 dude who flies with dreads. It's a bad comp, but I saw someone compare him to Cordero Patterson. If you are 6'4 and a deep threat and being compared to Cordero Patterson, Quentin Johnson should be going like top 12. So I say Quentin Johnson all day over Jordan Addison for this team. It's different from team to team. I personally prefer QJ overall. I like the big receivers. I think they're harder to find. That's why I didn't love Drake London, but I thought it was a solid pick for the Falcons because it's rare to find a 6'5 receiver. So QJ all day for me for the Chargers. And then the Ravens, the consensus next pick was QJ, and I say flip it, get Addison, triple down. Bateman and Odell could both get hurt. If you do, you've got Addison. Also, no team has 3 corners for all 3 of those dudes. If you guard those 3, then you just run with Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins and Lamar. And if you stuff the box, you've got 3 receivers and Mark Andrews that can't be stopped. So I think it'd be really, really fun to beef up that offense. And again, just like the 4 corners, I want the Giants to get one of those top 4 receivers, and I really don't want Flowers as much because he's 5'9". So I really want JSN, QJ, or Addison. So that second one is taken, I would love the Giants to just trade a bunch of stuff, even Leonard Williams if needed. I know he's got an ugly contract, but there are some teams that have the money for that. So I like Leonard Williams. I don't want to trade him. I'm just saying if we don't want to give up all the picks, but I'd say give up picks next year to be good now. So you can always give up picks next year and then move up in this year. That's what I do in fantasy every year. So absolutely, I would want the Giants to get QJ or Addison. In this mock, I have the Ravens getting Addison at 22. Vikings at 23, consensus is Herndon. He's long gone for me. It would have been a good pick for them. The receivers would be a good pick as well. I don't think having 2 stud receivers is really the way to win, but it would be really, really tough for them to stop. But since they missed the receivers, Lucas Van Ness all day. Their D was awful. The Giants torched them. Dude is traditional lineman, 6'5", 270, not twitchy, but fast enough, good motor, good size. I saw him mocked to the Lions at 6 over Tyree one time. So Lucas Van Ness at 23 is a terrific selection. Jaguars at 24, consensus is Brian Branch. Do it all, kind of more athletic Landon Collins type from Alabama. Well coached, good player. But I think the Jaguars really need to help out Trevor Lawrence. They've got him Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Evan Ingram, and now they've got the gambling guy, Calvin Ridley. They've got Etienne, so they got all that set. Now you got to protect him. So Darnell Wright was supposed to go around pick 15. If he's there at 24, that's a terrific pick. Run to the podium to help out your guy. And if you don't want Darnell Wright, then of course Brian Branch should be solid. And then, yeah, they have enough down the trenches, whatever, moving on. Giants, 25. Hope we're not picking here. Hope we're trading down or trading up. Consensus is Zay Flowers. I'd be solid with it. I don't love adding another 5'9" dude. Sterling Shepard's healthy. We've got Sterling Shepard. We've got Wan'Dale Robinson. Now we got Zay Flowers. And then Hodgins and Darius Slayton. That's not scaring anyone. If Waller gets hurt, we're just screwed. So I don't love that. I would really love to trade up for a cornerback or receiver, preferably both. Zay Flowers wouldn't be furious. As I said, Daniel Jeremiah had him going 11 to the Titans in his mock draft, 22nd ranked prospect overall. Comped him to T.Y. Hilton. Solid pick, whatever. Not going to be pissed if it happened, just not what I want. Dallas Cowboys, 26. Boo. Consensus, Michael Mayer. That would be terrific. Their D is frightening. They got Brandon Cooks, who you can book him for 1,000 yards every year. He's like the only guy to ever have 1,000 yards for 3 different teams in 3 different seasons, 3 consecutive seasons. Keep getting traded, keeps getting concussions though, unfortunately. So they should get another weapon because CD can't do it by himself. Pollard and Zeke are awesome. Their line is freaking awesome with the Smith bros. They got Zach Martin. Their line is so good. So then adding Darnell Washington would be terrifying. 6'7", 264, 34 and 3/8 arm is, so as I said with Joey Porter Jr., 34 is the average length of a tackle. He has longer arms than the average tackle, and he had a 408 shuttle, which was the 4th best in the whole draft. That's my favorite stat I've found in the whole draft. More fun than JSN being 0.1 faster in the shuttle and the 3-cone. I would be so juiced if the Giants got Darnell Washington. He could learn from Waller. Like, I'd much rather have Darnell Washington than Zay Flowers. I don't know how I didn't mention that. So again, you put Darnell at the inline. You put Bellinger at fullback in some heavy sets. You put Waller out to receiver. You reduce Waller and Washington snap counts. Tight end is tough for rookies, so you put him in on some more running plays. You put Waller in on more passing plays. You make it easier for everyone. You have the bros vibe out. You put them in together at sometimes. You just punish teams. So I would love it. If the Giants got Darnell, I would be furious if this happens and the Cowboys get Darnell. Buffalo Bills, 27 consensus is Osiris Torrance. 6'5", 330 guard would be great. I have Josh Allen in Dynasty Fantasy. I'd be happy with the pick. I do think guard is one of the easiest positions to find along with running back. I think some Miles Murphy would be a much better pick or trade down or trade up and get a stud. Miles Murphy, 6'5", 270, not twitchy, but moves well, plus motor. They sucked without Vaughn. So I know they would suck without Josh Allen, so you could say protect him, but it's easier to protect him later than to get a pass rusher later. They also could get the forgotten man, Kalijah Cansey, with that freaking crazy inside. They have Ed Oliver. So if they had him and Ed Oliver rushing from the inside, that would be freaking unstoppable. So that would be a really cool pick for them as well. But they do need the edge rusher. So Tremaine Edmonds, I know, is gone. So I know that you could say they need a middle, but they have Matt Milano, who's really good in coverage. And then they have my guy having a brain fart. I was like all about him. I talked about him so much. I'm so sleep deprived from being a new dad. I'm sleeping like 5 hours a night, never more than 5 consecutively. Greg Rousseau, 6'7" from Miami. Love him. Good run defender. But again, he's pretty big. He's 6'7", 270, maybe even 280. So he could slide inside and you could put, you could put Miles Murphy on the outside of Vaughn, and on passing downs, you slide Rousseau inside. So I think that'd be fun. Cansey would be fun. Miles Murphy would be fun. Any one of those would be good. If I had to mock one, I would probably say Miles Murphy because he's more versatile. Cincinnati Bengals consensus is Jahmyr Gibbs, which seems weird because they have Joe Mixon, but that would be frightening. Samaj Pirine is the number 1 plotter in the league, in my opinion, just a dude who plays running back because he plays running back for a living. Not scary at all. Mixon has legal issues. He's had a lot of touches in college and the pros. He could get hurt. And actually, Mixon's a lot bigger. Gibbs is smaller, so they're a really good complement. And that would be frightening. Kamara back to have T. Higgins, freaking Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, 3 of the best receivers in the league, and now have 2 terrific running backs. That'd be terrifying. Getting a tackle would be really smart for them as well. Then Saints, consensus is Brian Bresee. Really good pick, I think, from Clemson. He was one of the top dudes in the draft last year, and then he went out again. And then, or I don't know if he was eligible, but they said he was going to be, and then he had a bad year. But he's 6'5", 290, 6'5 and a half, 298, ran a 4.8, 640. To put it in perspective, Anquan Bolden and Jerry Rice ran a 4.71. So 4.86 to 4.71 isn't that far away, and he's 298. So he moves well. But if I'm the Saints, they loved Olave. They traded everything to get him to reset their They got Carr. Their offense was anemic. Let's do it one more time. Give him another weapon and give him Jalen Hyatt, 6'4" with elite speed, 2 deep threats for Carr. You can't guard Olave and Hyatt at the same time. Takes pressure off Kamara. It's going to open up space for him. They got Jamal Williams too, so he's going to be pounding. So I really think you finish up fixing the offense and get Jalen Hyatt. Philadelphia Eagles, consensus is Will McDonald, 6'4", 240, 36-inch vert, moves well. That would be really scary with Hassan Reddick. But again, as I said, they lost a nose tackle. I know they have Jordan Davis. As I said, can't play every down. Get Bresee, the big man. It's easier to find edge rushers on the outside. It's tough to find edge rushers on the inside. So, and just kidding, that is the one I'd forgotten about. So do not get Bresee, get Kalijah Cansey. So Kalijah Cansey would be the pick here at 30 for the Eagles. I really hope that doesn't happen. Last pick of the first, Kansas City Chiefs consensus is Keon White, 6'5", 285. First lines about him in his draft profile are he's an athlete. Enough said. If they want Will McDonald or Bresee, that's fine. But they have Karlaftis, who's big. They have Chris Jones, who's big. I think you double down and get the big. So either Keon White or Cansey would be the pick for me. And I really like the athletes. I would say get Keon White or Brian Branch. It's kind of crazy that Brian Branch has fallen this far in this draft. The Bengals are pretty set with Jesse Bates. The Bills have Hyde and Poyer. They're pretty old. So actually, Branch should be a pretty solid pick for them. But again, keeping Josh Allen healthy and happy is more important, and they sucked without Vaughn, who's older. So I did consider Branch. I just don't think Branch is quite right for any of these teams. New Orleans defense is good enough. The Eagles could get Branch as well, but I think Kansas would be the best pick for them. And then the Chiefs really want to rush the passer. They're in a division with potentially a new quarterback for the Raiders, Justin Herbert, and potentially good Russell Wilson. And then in the playoffs, they're going to have to go against Tua, Josh Allen, maybe Lamar, great quarterbacks, Joe Burrow, So, get the pass rusher. So if I'm them, I'm getting Keon White. So you got Keon White and Karlaftis and Chris Jones, 3 big pass rushers going to be unstoppable. I told my lady I was going to do 20 to 25 minutes. It's been 39 minutes. That shows just how excited I am for the draft. If you're hearing me, Giants, please trade up from 25. If you're listening and you made it this far, thank you so much for your time. Please like, subscribe, and share. One love, you guys.